What is going on YouTube? Kronos here and welcome back to another PSO2 video. So first of all, I want to say guys, Happy New Year. We finally made it. It's 2021. The first video on the channel of this year. Hopefully you guys had a good New Year. You guys were all safe. Those of you guys who came out for the live stream, thank you so much for hanging out. You guys are fantastically awesome individuals and I had a lot of fun. Both on New Year's Eve and on New Year's Day actually. Now, I did say I wanted to record this video today. I want to get up by basically later today at this point because it's already midnight, but I want to get this up later today and try to start churning out videos a bit more often on different pieces of content, even if it's not just informative stuff, even gameplay videos, because I enjoy them and I want you guys to have content to actually check out. Those of you guys over on the YouTube channel that don't always make it over to the streams or aren't really a big fan of hanging out over on Twitch and that sort of thing. So today's video we're going to be going over Etoile, more or less, is my combos that I use on Etoile, general strategies, or just advice I have for other Etoile players, things that I personally have learned, things that I've seen people do great, and things I've seen people mess up. Now, I will preface this by saying I am not the best Etoile player in the slightest. I do fairly well for myself, try my best. However, there are still mechanics I have to get better at. There are still gameplay styles that I disagree with other Etoiles, and have seen other players play fairly well using this specific style versus other ones. As far as what's better, what's worse, honestly, as far as global is concerned, it's a bit more difficult to calculate everything out, unless you're reviewing frame data and calculating all that sort of stuff, but you're looking in practicality, so on and so forth. So it's not always going to be an exact science. When anyone who tries to push damage will tell you the napkin math is not always going to be what ends up happening in a quest in itself. So you want to make sure you leave yourself a little wiggle room for variance. Either way, it's been a long enough intro. I do want to go ahead and share with you guys the tree that I'm using for this. That way you guys can kind of see what it is that I'm doing. I apologize. There is no dark mode for this. I mean, I could use, you know what? Let's do this. Here you go, guys. No more tactical nuke. So this is the tree that I'm personally using for Etoile right now. I may decide to change this. I'm not sure 100% on this one. But the major differences in this tree versus what you're going to see in other trees is I've personally taken Universal Mate up. The reason for it is I actually drop my, what's it called? My Mate Fanatic ring in favor of taking jumping dodge instead. My rings of choice are jumping dodge, surefire connect, and I think what the last one is jumping dodge, surefire connect, and atomizer fanatic. And then on my left slot I take not the Mate Fanatic ring, the Mag Excite ring. Mag Excite's actually pretty disgusting for damage. Does have your mag attack more often and you get a bit more damage out of it overall, which is really nice. As well as the Mag Excite ring does have attack stats on it, so if you have it at plus 20 you are getting a bit more raw stat, which is pretty nice. So for that reason I go with this setup. If you're finding that you run out of healing items, I personally find that in most cases, actually pretty much every single piece of content in the game minus specifically solo ship urgent quest, I pretty much have enough healing items. And that one specifically, it's a bit more difficult for me to keep up with things. It's easy to get chipped down and run out of healing items. The 5 healing items is usually enough for most cases, but not everything. In those situations, maybe grab a Mate Fanatic ring instead of like say jumping dodge or something like that. But I like jumping dodge, it's super nice for me. The other thing is a lot of people will mention as far as the tree goes, what they recommend. I personally don't take flat attack bonus. A reason for it is it technically isn't a damage gain if you're playing properly in the first place. I'm usually fairly good about keeping my just attacks going. I've gotten much better about it over my course of playing Etoile again since it came out to global. But if you're having issues with it, I would say drop the points in a total attack up, grab flat attack bonus. If you're missing just attacks, it is a huge damage loss. You're losing your critical, you're losing your attack bonus. Flat attack will help cover that for you in those situations, so it's not as detrimental, but it is still pretty bad. Another one that I take usually that I've seen a lot of other double saber Etoiles take that I've seen people recommend against, which kind of blows my mind. I mentioned this in my my video when I went over the trees, is double saber slide. Double saber slide on its own is not very quick movement, but what it does provide when you are locked onto a target is you slide towards your target much faster. On top of that, your normal attack out of slide has a ridiculous, I think it's like a 1.8 times multiplier on it, and also works with your held normals as well. So it's actually fairly strong with a combination of Celestial Collide into Double Saber Slide normal into a held normal, which I'll show you guys in just a bit. Done correctly and done quickly, it's actually quite a bit of damage, and it keeps you fairly PP neutral overall. So people say that, you know, they don't take this, they don't have much use for it. I don't see a reason not to. It's 1 point first off, and it's a lot of damage if you're using it correctly. So this is a tree I'm using. If people are concerned about or curious about the gear I'm using, I've overlaid soaring blades. You guys have seen this in previous videos. I'm using a trailblazer for my double saber and a trailblazer for my wand. Hopefully this will be upgraded to a Revelate wand relatively soon. Also, I'm using a PP battery. That's just luminous adaptation, but support amplification, grand spirit, and then phase recovery. For as much PP recovery as I can get on my Atlas itself. It has support amplification because I happened to luck out yesterday, and I did get Skydance Boon for my leg unit, so I do have, or I basically have shift and debend up at all times, which is super, super nice, super comfy. And my back unit, I mean, it has Soaring Heaven Dance on it, but it doesn't do anything for Etoile. It was from when I was playing Bouncer earlier today. But my units are as follows. You can see, hang on a second, you can see what they are. Nothing too big here. Essentially I end up dropping the, what is it? The Arc's Fever in favor of each of my SSA slots, basically. So nothing too big a deal there. Nothing too crazy. And then of course Critical Strike and Mag Excite. So all right, so on to the combos, because it's already been about 6 minutes and we haven't talked about any. So I need to get my camera situated. Sick. So Etoile combos are actually fairly simplistic. You're basically taking advantage of two things in the Etoile tree itself. You're taking advantage of same arts PP preservation as well as tech arts count bonus. So tech arts count bonus gives you damage increase whenever you use a different PA continuously during a combo, and you can retain that damage bonus up to 3 times of the same PA used. So for example, if you use a PA first, so like say you use a gap closing PA and then just a damaging PA, that second PA is boosted by tech arts count bonus. Now you retain that damage bonus for 2 more uses of that same PA. So that's what they mean by a combo. So essentially the idea is you want to do PA1 into PA2, PA2, PA2. In some cases you might be able to do PA2 into PA1 into PA2 into PA2 into PA2. So essentially you want to just be able to repeat that PA 3 times and then move on to the next one. Now we're also taking advantage of same arts PP preservation, where same arts PP preservation essentially allows us to reduce the PA use consecutively during a combo. It's reduced to a certain rate, and the way to get up to that amount is based on the level that you have. So at level 3, this is reach when you reach 4 uses of a PA itself, meaning that it's kind of like balanced almost perfectly with tech arts count bonus, where these two together end up kind of building on one another. Basically, you're getting more damage, and the more you're using the PA, the less it costs. So it's more PP efficient overall. So what's that look like with Soaring Blades? So we're gonna look at Soaring Blades first, because it's my main weapon that I use. It's one of my favorite weapons, pretty much. Etoile has a few different PAs. You have kind of like your opener, in my opinion, and then their actual damaging PA. So your opener for Etoile, you've got 2 options: Radiant Sting and Vertical Flow. Radiant Sting is a gap close. It's going to move you towards your target. Vertical Flow is going to give you a bit of height, move you slightly forward, and has a just attack or a perfect attack window at the height of its jump, as well as when you land on the ground. I'll show you guys both of those here really quick. So the gap closer, Radiant Sting, pretty solid, keeps you level. So like say you're already leveled where you're looking to be. Really good to go ahead and start PAs. Vertical Flow raises you up, brings you back down. But as you notice, if you watch Vertical Flow slowly, right there, you have a just attack window. So at the height of Vertical Flow, you have a just attack window, as well as at the bottom. Now I'm going to say just attack a lot. I apologize. I'm used to it from playing JP for so long. Just attack just means perfect attack. They're the same thing. It's just different naming scheming used between global and between JP. So essentially we want to have more or less a gap closer or an opener to our combo itself. So in most cases what you'll find are Etoiles, if you're on the ground, you need to get into the air, use something like Vertical Flow into Distortion Pierce if your target is going to be stationary for the full use of your Distortion Pierce itself. And Distortion Pierce is just one of Etoile's most damaging skills. Builds meter very, very fast for use, and you're able to get quite a bit of damage out of it. So what are the 2 combos I usually use? Well, basically it's going to be one of 2 things. Either I need to get height and I can start attacking, or I need to gap close and I start attacking. If I need to gap close, Radiant Sting into Distortion Pierce. Fairly simple. And I do this 3 times. Move into my next PA again and repeat the combo. Fairly easy. If a target's down, not moving, pretty good on the damage front. You get the idea. So let's get some PP back. Other than that, our other option is Light Wave. Now, Light Wave is fairly good on damage, assuming you can get all the hits in. Excuse me. Assuming you get all the hits in, but it's a little bit weaker on building meter, essentially. So normally I only Light Wave when I need to be able to be mobile around my target and still hit them from a range, because it's got some pretty good range on it. Let's see how far back we can get. Yeah, we're still hitting our target from way back here. There we go. Right around there is where we're hitting our target from, which is pretty far away, all things considered, being a melee weapon. So when your target's out of range, if they're moving around too much, if you need to be more mobile to avoid damage, or if you just need to be more mobile to be able to deal with incoming damage, Light Wave is a recommended choice. So again, your combo is going to be something like opener into PA spam. Let's say my target starts moving and I need to be able to get out of dodge. I can Light Wave right here. Because I'm moving on to another part of the combo and I had an opener already, I can retain that combo itself and keep going. And then I can gap close back to my target, deal more damage again. So it's pretty simple, really. Nothing too difficult. The complexities in dual blades come in 2 spots. One is incoming damage. Now, I've mentioned this a couple times on stream, you have to get used to parrying incoming damage. Cool thing about dual blades on Etoile or soaring blades is you can parry abilities that are coming at you without interrupting your overall combo. So whenever you parry something, it does damage to the target. You also regen PP back, and you can continue to do your regular combo. It does not interrupt your PAs. The difficult part, however, comes in while you're trying to remember your rhythm for doing PAs, but also still hitting your weapon action occasionally to parry incoming damage. The most important thing to not do is do not spam while a PA is active. If you're pressing a button for a PA while a PA is already active, you lose the just attack window. The same thing happens for parrying. If you hit a PA and you're spamming parry while your parry is already active, you also lose your just attack window. This is the reason a lot of people tend to take flat attack, is because while they're getting used to parry timing, they can just spam the parry button and, get parries occasionally. I personally don't recommend this. I think it's better for you to be able to try to figure out the timing and parry appropriately. Even if you parry spam, as long as you're only doing it when a parry isn't active, you're not losing your just attack window. The biggest thing is not losing a rhythm overall of playing the class. So soaring blades, nothing too difficult there. Oh yeah, also full connect. One last thing I see a lot of people doing incorrectly is they really, really want to build up full connect. And I don't blame them. Full connect's really, really cool. I've actually been playing some bouncers, so I don't have my ring equipped right now. I think it's kick and tackle right now. So do I have the ring on me? Maybe I can just equip it really quick to show you guys. I don't, and I'm not going to really bother with going to pick it up. So soaring blades has one last mechanic. When you build up gear, you see that gear is split into 2 small little pips there at the bottom. Whenever you step and hit weapon action, you throw out an edge, which is kind of cool. Does some damage. It's pretty good for movement, and while you do this is also a parry. You notice that you have your parry around you, so you get PP back. It's good for movement. It's not a ton of PP back that you're getting for this whenever it connects with your target, but it's pretty solid. And as long as you get pretty good movement, and you're basically pretty safe doing this. But if you step into weapon action once, you get what's called a connect. So we'll do this now. You get some damage, and you get an aura around you for about, I think it's 15 to 20 seconds. Now this aura allows you at this point to get heat up. So you actually gain, while dual blades is equipped, using a connect or a full connect will boost gear gain for a certain period of time. It's about 20 seconds if I remember correctly. The only thing is with full connect, you lose some time because during the full connect itself, you're kind of animation locked into it. So essentially, you gain increased gear for a short period of time. Now, what I notice a lot of people do is they really want to gain gear for full connect. So let's pop a connect really quick just so we can gain gear up really fast. And let's build back up. So as you noticed, our gear is going up really fast. We just did a connect, and we're already back up to having another connect. And I believe that was a total of 5 PAs. And the reason I'm showing this specifically, why I'm mentioning this, is because people really tend to go hard on specifically the full connect. And I don't blame them. Full connect looks really, really cool. I'm going to show it to you guys right now. So if you step into weapon action and then weapon action again, and a third time you get what's called a full connect. Keep in mind, these are all perfect attackable. And if you don't, you actually lose damage. So you want to make sure you're using a perfect attack during this. You can see a perfect attack window pops up. You want to do this properly. So usually backstep into connect into a full connect. Now, as you can see, there's a giant sword that gets summoned. You can hold this. That way, if you need to aim it, and turn on Z aim, turn your character around, anything like that, lock onto a target, wait for a target to come up. Say the target moves away, you know it's going to come back. You can hold on to this completely. You don't have to let it go immediately. The moment you let it go, you can't stop yourself. You technically can also dash out of this. I'm going to go ahead and let this go so you guys can see it. It's a ton of damage. You also get a just attack window afterwards, or a perfect attack window afterwards, that you can continue a combo in. And as you can see, we have the heat up on us again. So let's go ahead and build back up to another full connect really quick. So you can show a few things that you're eligible to do with full connects. So now this specifically will only work without the Surefire ring. When you're going for a full connect, you actually are immune to damage. So here, while your character's in this state here, you are susceptible to damage. However, once you start the connect, you actually guard frame everything that's coming towards you. So from here, you're good to go. Here again, you're susceptible to damage, but as you swing the sword upward, again, you're immune to damage here. So timing these full connects can actually make or break damage for you. You can avoid damage and deal quite a bit of damage overall by being able to get full connects, done correctly. You know what? Let me pause for a quick second and grab something here really quick. I'll be right back for you guys. All right, so I went out and grabbed a quick little ring for you guys. So I have the Surefire Connect ring. Now, I don't usually recommend having this in your left slot. Of course, there's an EQ going on right now. But I don't recommend having this in your left slot just because the stats it provides you are usually either defensive or dexterity. Now, granted, it's not that much, but if you can get more damage out of something else, you're better off going with the other option. Just don't break yourself over it, right? You don't have to go super far out of your way, but if you can avoid it, usually for the best. So this is usually attached to a unit for me. Some people opt to not attach it to your unit and use keyboard macros to swap this off and on. So that is also an option as well, if that's how you'd like to go ahead and do this. But I prefer just having it in a unit, make things very simple for myself, and I can be a bit lazy sometimes. So, but what the Surefire Connect ring actually allows you to do is after 2 seconds of holding a connect, you saw earlier when we held connect, I'll show you guys really quick. So let's unequip the ring. We hold a connect. We just kind of sit here, right? Can't really do anything. Nice thing about connect is you can actually dash out of it. So say you have this held connect, you know you're going to lose the damage, it's going to miss. You can step out of it, so you don't have to actually let that connect go. Once you let go of the weapon action button, it's gone. It's going to connect. There's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. No stepping out of it's going to stop it or save it for you. It also doesn't use any of your gear. However, if you have Surefire Connect either on your unit or equipped, when you hold connect for 2 seconds, it moves into a full connect immediately. Now, this is not a damage increase every single time you have half a bar. I'm sorry, every single time you have a bar. This is what we usually call a precast tool. Basically, while the boss is not available to target and you have some free time, also you can dash out of this too. You have some free time, so you know the boss is coming back and you're waiting. You can set this up so when the boss immediately becomes targetable, you can let an attack go for massive amounts of damage. That specific tip will actually increase your gameplay overall. Something that a lot of high-level players tend to do is setting up precasts. That's pretty much everything I have to say about dual blades specifically. Let's move on to the next weapon. Dual blades I have a lot to say about because I just play a lot. So let's look at double saber. Double saber, fairly awesome weapon. In my opinion, it should be Etoile's strongest weapon itself. Unfortunately, it's not. It's only second place, right in front of dual blades. Dual blades and double saber kind of depend on the matchup, but double saber is better in most situations, specifically targets that aren't consistently on top of you. Dual blades really falls off if your target's not hyper aggressive. So double saber, Double Saber has a specific mechanic called skip arts. So you have PAs and you have a skip PA or a skip arts PA. So we'll show our gap closer here really quick. At the end of it, we do this little circle ability, right? So if I hold a movement or a movement button during that, you get this PA that you see right now. But if I hold nothing, you just get the second half of the PA itself. Why is that important? Well, first off, this is faster. Secondly, skip arts PAs have guard frames at the start of them, meaning that if a hurt box comes into contact with you during the startup of a skip PA, you actually guard the ability and take no damage, which is pretty cool, assuming you can guard the ability. There are some abilities that go through guard, nothing you can do about it. Only thing you can do is step around it. But we'll talk about that too in just a moment for Double Saber. So combos with Double Saber, same thing applies. You're going for PA1 into PA2 into PA2, PA2, PA2. Most of the time, that's going to be something like this. In most cases, that's what you're really looking for. So in reality, what you're going to be looking at is absolute Quasar skip arts into basically spamming double saber destruction. Or sorry, saber destruction. Wow, this is also a PA that's in a PSU. That's why I'm thinking of it. I was thinking of blade destruction, not saber destruction. But basically, in most cases, you're going to be spamming this on a target that's down, while in between hitting with a held normal to get back PP. So again, fairly simplistic when it comes to comboing. Nothing too difficult. You get PP back. It's a fairly strong weapon overall. The only other way you tend to use Double Saber mostly is going to be held normals. Now, I mentioned beforehand, while you're not locked onto your target, Double Saber slide is pretty slow. But while you are locked onto a target, it's substantially faster. So it's actually fairly useful while you're locked onto your target. Another reason for it is if the target's swinging at you, if you actually step through an ability while you're locked onto it, you automatically counter with a held normal, which does quite a bit of damage. It's actually pretty useful. So you have access to not only being able to guard frame on the startup of your skip PA, but you can also step through an ability while you're locked on. You do have to be locked on. If you're not locked on, you'll just dodge through it. It won't do anything. So very important. So outside of that, there's one other thing that's really important for Double Saber. Now, actually, I lied. Two things. First off, you have your focus at the bottom of the screen. So your focus, you can see, has 3 bars. Each bar is used for held normal. Now, this bar can be used up in 2 different ways. One, when you take damage, it'll greatly reduce your damage that you take for 1 tick of damage. However, you lose 1 bar. Now, that counts for any damage you take, which is what kind of sucks about Double Saber. That means if you take a tick of fire, if you take a tick of poison, if you walk into fire accidentally, that completely negates all of your gear. And you can end up taking down very, very fast. So be very careful to make sure that you're healing up poisons or you're healing up fires. Some people opt for status recovery pretty hardcore on their mag for that specific reason if they're playing a lot of Double Saber, because it is a fairly big damage loss if you can't use your held normals to get PP back. You're basically almost never, I mean, ideally, you're never just straight up normal attacking on Double Saber. It just doesn't happen. In reality, if you have to normal attack, you want to use a held normal to get PP back as well as deal massive damage. So that's usually what you're going to be looking for. So it's very, very important to make sure that's taken care of. And last but not least, Celestial Collide. Celestial Collide is Double Saber's precast and is extremely powerful, specifically in situations like this, or I'm sorry, specifically in situations where you can set it up as a precast. You basically summon a sword in front of you and kick back. There's 2 things that happen here. First one is it's precastable and does massive damage. Second one is it moves you backwards. Now, why is that important? Well, for 2 things, really. One, if the target you know is going to move anyway, this can move you out of danger. You can move back to the target afterwards. And 2, it can set you up for that combo I talked about before, where you can jump back and then held normal back to the target. I actually did it wrong just then. For massive damage. So it's actually pretty nice. In some cases, people opt to just do this. They do the slow version of it. It is less damage because you will get more damage out of the slide, depending upon how far the target is from you. Did I have enough for that time? but it does depend on how far the target is from you. If the target's close enough, in most cases, it's just worth to go ahead and just step into the normal attack itself, but you were gonna get more damage out of the slide itself. It is definitely useful. It's a great gap closer. And let me see really quick if I can just... You do have, I believe, some guard frames on this attack as your gap closing, so that's pretty beneficial. Again, one of the situations where it's fairly powerful, so you just have to be very careful about its use. Outside of that, Double Saber does have one other mechanic itself. It actually has what's called Quick Cut. It allows you to gap close to your target. At the end of a PA, you have a small little white or a small little sheen that pops up on your character. If you hit a normal attack during that time, you gap close to a target, but you have to be locked onto it to gap close all the way forward. If you're not, you just move forward a little bit. You don't really get much out of it. So you've got gap closing, you've got guard frames, you have iframes, and you have one last mechanic for Double Saber. You have a parry on your weapon action. The way this parry actually works out is when you press it once is the actual parry itself. What happens is if you parry damage incoming, you see a little circle go around your character. At that point, you can press it a second time to get massive counter damage on your target. And as you can see, it also allows you to set up just regular damage as well as a quick cut. So you'll see in a lot of cases, people tend to parry an attack and then immediately go into another attack itself. You usually don't want to let this parry rock full force. Just getting the counter damage. So like usually just that hit right there, the first hit of the parry. This here is where all the counter damage is going to come in. That matters. At that point, you usually want to go directly into a PA. Also, you get you're able to quick cut off of your parries itself. And if more damage is incoming whenever you go for a parry, so say for example you go for the parry, start the combo off with getting the parry, get the counter damage, and as you're getting the counter damage itself, you go for another parry, you actually get another parry for another set of counter damage. So in theory, if damage is coming towards you, you end up looking something like this for massive amounts of counter damage, which is pretty nice. Now granted, doing this over again and over again, just letting this rock if you're not parrying is not great damage. You're gonna get more damage just actually using your PAs itself than doing anything else. But again, the combos are fairly simple. It's just going to be PA1 into PA2 3 times. Given the situation, each one to approach your target the best way you possibly can. You have your held normals to gain PP back, which is very nice. And Double Saber Slide Step to be able to gap close and deal massive damage on a held normal attack itself. Your precast is Celestial Collide. And one thing I did forget to mention is the final PA that Double Saber has is Shooting Star. Shooting Star on its skip arts just kind of targets something or hits your locked on target from far away, and it's actually it's got quite a bit of range on it. Now you do start to fly back a bit when you use it. So just keep in mind of your spacing. But this is great for targets that either like to move around away from you a lot, or targets that have like really specific weak points. So this is attacking from the top. Usually if there's like a shield in front, it'll take care of the target, or it'll take care of bypassing that shield. So it's kind of nice. And it attacks upward and all that good stuff. So really nice. Moving on to Etoile's arguably strongest weapon. I mean, I don't think it's even arguably strongest. It is Etoile's strongest weapon, the Wand. So Wand is actually pretty simple in its uses overall. All of Wand's PAs at the start have guard frames. So a lot of what Wand or learning Wand truly is pacing. When to use a PA, when to block. So again, you're following more or less the same idea. PA1 into PA2 3 times. Which PA you choose to use depends on your situation. Luminous Flare is a laser. It's got some crazy range on it. It's very, very powerful. It's really, really nice. Prism Circular is actually a movement tool as well as a combo starter. So it's fairly useful as both of those. You can just pop it for a combo starter in some cases, or you can hold it as a movement tool. It does have vertical tracking, and you're able to actually Z aim it, which is just over the shoulder DPS. Aiming to infinitely move upward. As you can see now, we're like super far in the air. So it's pretty useful in a lot of situations itself. Now, where Wand actually shines, actually, no, let's, before we go into where Wand shines there, let's talk about the other two PAs it has. Arguably, it's stronger combo starter, however, it's more difficult to usually place. Glitter Stripe moves you up in the air, but its placement is a bit weird. You have to kind of be spaced properly or you lose damage on it. If you're super close, you lose a lot of damage on it if the target's not big enough, so you have to just be careful about how you use it. You want to kind of place yourself right as the explosion's happening. And its final PA that it has access to, I believe, is Black Hole Rupture, is what it's called. Yeah, Black Hole Rapture. Pulls targets in and leaves an AoE down that continuously attacks that target spot itself. Kind of nice for setting up a little wall, pulling targets together and dealing damage. Sometimes you see AoE combos be something like this. You can pull targets in and then spam this if they're grouped tightly together enough. Very often you'll see the old laser spam from Etoile just because it has ridiculous range. It's super easy to do. It's kind of fun not to, or it's kind of difficult not to want to press a laser on your target when you have so much control and freedom. So those are the PAs that Etoile, or Wand Etoile, has access to. Let's talk about its actual shift mechanic, or what they call, I believe they're called shift PAs, or focus PAs. For Wand Etoile, every time you press a PA, you'll see a specialized what's it called, a perfect attack circle pop up. That perfect attack circle, if you press your weapon action during it, does what's called a focus PA. The focus PA usually does a bit more damage, but at the cost of range. Now, these focus PAs usually are going to be the better option overall. The cleave is much less, but you do get more damage overall with the weapon, or with the PA, and it's usually faster. The other thing that's really nice on it is you do also get another guard frame. Whenever using a focus PA, you get another guard frame at the startup of the focus PA itself. And you do have to be careful. If you're just spamming the weapon action button, you lose your perfect attack window again. So you have what's called your focus PA perfect attack window, and you have your regular perfect attack window. You don't want to lose either one of those. I'll go ahead and show you guys an example. So like I mentioned beforehand, if I was doing, say, you know, an AoE rotation where I just tossed out a Prism Circular and went to Luminous Flares, I could adapt that into a single target rotation where I do the focus PA version. You'll watch and see the little white circle pop up my character and press my weapon action. And now all of a sudden I'm doing much larger, smaller, I guess more, not smaller hits, but closer range hits that are more, they're not exactly single target. You do still have a range on your actual PA as you're using it. So even further away, as you can see, I can still hit my target. Let me get some PP back real quick. Now this does take a bit of practice to kind of get its pacing down. But even further away, I can still hit my target. It's not full on single target. I'm sorry, single target. It's not full on short range, but the range is substantially shorter than a laser where I can like stand all the way back here and still hit my target. Fairly different. So the only other thing to keep in mind as far as Wand goes is one of two mechanics, which is your gear release. If you hold down your block on Wand, you actually get, not only do you get a full 360 guard, while you have focus. This is very important. If you have no focus, you can be hit out of this. But as long as you have focus that you're using for the guard itself, you have full block. You actually gain some focus back upon taking those hits as long as you're blocking them. But as long as you use at least 2 gears or 2 full pips, if you look at the very bottom, you can see it's kind of divided into 3 sections. It looks a little more like 5 if you look at the little lines on the sides, but it's more like 3. But it's divided into 3 sections. As long as you use 2/3 of your focus and hold for your Wand action, let it go, you get damage. A huge amount of damage in an AoE around you. Now, it's very important to note. Let me go ahead and build this really quick. That while using, let me pop this as well. While using your gauge or using your Wand release, its action ability that can maintain combo. So I held off on talking about this mechanic until we got to Wand, specifically because it's used mostly with Wand, as well as a bit with double sabers and a little bit with dual blades. Dual blades doesn't retain this only because of the way that you set up full connect. But Wand can actually retain its combo, retain its perfect attack windows through its Wand release. So let's say, for example, I'm attacking a target and I'm using Wand as my primary DPS. So of course I've got my, little single target rotation going. And I realize I have full gear. I can perfect attack into it. And maintain my actual combo to not have to stop dealing damage. As you can see, this entire time I've been maintaining my perfect attack window, except I just lost it there for a second, as you can see by that Luminous Flare that did 200 some odd damage. I maintained it through the Wand release itself. Now this is something that's going to take some time to get used to, a bit of practice. I'm still not great at it personally because Wand's not really my main weapon that I use, but it is very, very powerful. Outside of that, of course, there's just Wand Etoile guard. You have a full 360 guard around you. It builds gear if you actually take damage. A cool little note, if you see something that's actually going to deal a bunch of damage, like a bunch of lasers coming at you or something along those lines, if you actually guard those abilities along with setting up your focus, so your focus only your Wand release only requires you to consume 2 gauges of your focus. But if you're gaining focus back at the same time, it's like taking a bunch of hits, you can actually consume the full gauges, the 2 full gauges you need, or 2 full pips that you actually need of it, do a Wand release and still have enough to do a second Wand release. Also, if you only use 1, you get a single hit, which, much like Connect and Full Connect, is actually still worth doing. A lot of times people tend to want to save up for their biggest hit, but in reality, they don't end up getting to use their full hit. Now, granted, if you're going to get to use the full giant hit for 2 ticks, go for it. But if not, get damage where you can, because it's still quite a bit of damage to get overall. Same thing happens with Full Connect and Connect. If you can't get the Full Connect, do not sit on a Full Connect. Use your Connect, get the buff to continue dealing damage and not sit on any gear, because Connect still does a ton of damage. And then if a situation appears where you're getting close, you know that the boss is going to be available to hit, and you can get a Full Connect in, get the Full Connect then. Same thing applies with Wand. If you can get a full Wand release, get the full Wand release. If you can't, just get a Wand release. Do not sit on full Wand focus while actually using the Wand itself. It's a waste of DPS overall. The only other thing to mention outside of all of these things is Wand actually rewards you by moving while you're casting. While I use a focus PA, actually, I'll show you really quick. As you can see, my character, I can move while I'm attacking. But if I use a focus PA specifically, so let's pop this really quick. As you can see, I'm moving much faster while I'm attacking. If you're using focus PAs, you actually get a movement speed buff, and you also build focus faster while doing this. So ideally, you always want to be moving on Wand. You kind of have to play a bit like a monkey brain. You're basically rewarded for spurging out a bit. But you got to be careful about your movement to make sure you're not losing out on damage, because you can. That's basically all there is to it. Also, of course, there's the Etoile refresh, but I mean, that kind of speaks for itself. Gives you full HP PP and gives that to everyone else in the entire party. Super helpful, super useful. Outside of that, the only other thing to mention is Etoile will. Even if you are someone who only plays Wand or just plays double save or just plays double save or just plays dual blades or whatever, having at least a Wand and a dual blade will be a damage increase for you. In situations where you might not be using those weapons, if you proc your Etoile will, you get a full recharge of your focus of every single weapon. In some cases, if you know that you know a quest well enough that you're not going to die, you can purposely take a hit from something that's going to go ahead and proc your Etoile will and gain damage out of being able to utilize, say, another full connect that you wouldn't have gotten previously because you weren't using your weapon, or say a wand full gear release that you wouldn't have gotten previously either. So it is fairly nice to have access to. I would definitely recommend paying attention to it and strategically sacking, but be careful. Sometimes you can proc your will and not realize it, and then try to proc it to be able to deal damage and end up dying and losing damage. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that anymore. But that's really about it. That's all I had to say about Etoile. It has a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, with all those things being said, it's still the weakest of all the Scion classes. It is very tanky. Yes, one does a lot of damage, but in ideal situations, every other Scion class does more damage, and a lot of other regular classes do more damage. It's kind of sad. Hopefully Etoile does see a little bit of rebalancing, because it's a bit of a slower class when it comes to the other Scion classes. Everyone else is kind of zipping around all over the place. You're a bit more methodical. You're kind of like an unstoppable force. You're just moving forward at a steady pace. You are not really moving fast, but no one's going to be able to stop you from going the direction you're trying to go. So cool stuff. Anyway, guys, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to toss them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm going to kind of go with a different spiel these days. Like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. Click the bell icon if you want to be notified of videos as they pop up, as well as community posts as I post those for all the streams that we tend to go live, or join the Discord. Follow me over on Twitter if you guys want to be a part of either one of those communities. Thank you all for joining me on this video. I know it's a bit of a longer one, and watching all the way to the end, it does help me out a ton, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Peace out.